this weekend, I'm driving my car and we're going out to lunch, and I see all these very, very happy parents. They're ecstatic. Like, they're going to Target or Walmart or wherever, and they're getting the little book bags and they're getting the 3-ring binders. I don't know if they really get binders anymore. Elizabeth, do kids still get binders now, or is it just all computers?
It might all be computers.
Okay, it's all okay. I'm getting old out there. Well, but they're buying their school stuff, like maybe the new school clothes, new school shoes, and they're very excited. I think most of the parents, though, are excited for a different reason. I think they're excited that they can finally get those kids out of their house and make them like somebody else's problem for the year, instead of having trying to find ways to entertain them and educate them. And I mean, I'm sure they all love their children, but I'm pretty sure my mother was ecstatic on the first day of school because I was gone for 6 or 7 hours. Anyway, I mean, I'm kind of in jest, but I think it's kind of true, right? Okay. So anyway, we are approaching the first day of schools for many, many districts across the nation over August, the first few weeks of August, and even into the first few weeks of September, kind of nationally. That's when all these kids are going back to school. And it popped a question in my mind, is that will 27 million students leave public schools this year or in the next few years? 27 million. Now let's kind of break that number down just really quickly, all right? About 50 million children in the K-12 education space nationally, right? And as of this year, 27 million of those children are now in districts with some sort of school choice program. Some sort of school choice programs. That means they're eligible. I don't know if they certainly won't all participate. We'll get into that. But they're eligible now to do something besides go to the traditional public school. And this is what I've been preaching on for, oh my goodness, 10 years now. 10 years now is that school choice is coming. We have a new reality. You cannot anticipate that the children are just going to show up because you have a monopoly on it. So those days are gone. You have a new reality. And this is the first year where the number of eligible students is beyond a majority, over 50%. Okay, 50 million divided by 2 is 25 million, and it's 27 million. All right. And we're going to break this down today. And I do have a bit of an announcement. I'm going to swing our producer on, Elizabeth, on the screen. She hates it when I make her get on the screen. I know, like, we don't have a huge, do we put this up on YouTube and stuff?
We do.
Okay, so it's on YouTube. If you want to see my ugly mug or hers, that's where to go. But I guess most people listen to podcasts. Okay, so it's a podcast, but we throw videos up. And we hope you share it. And I think that's the whole purpose of a little bit of changing we're going to be doing going forward, is that at times I get, if you listen to a podcast, I get a little worked up. I get very hot over what's going on nationally, and that some school districts really want to advocate for themselves and are doing a great job. Others are sitting on their hands and just hoping for the best, and others just don't know what to do. Meanwhile, politicians, media are kind of attacking public schools. I say kind of because I'm trying to be nice. They are attacking public schools and have for 15 years. And it's like, if it bleeds, it leads. They have to always do bad news. And there are new kids on the block, right? All these school vouchers and school choice and competitive schools. And so it's exciting. They're new. Eventually, the media will start going after them because not everybody's perfect. We're not perfect. Public schools aren't perfect, and neither are they. But we're kind of getting beat up. And the purpose of this podcast should be to provide really good intelligence, great information that you can utilize immediately, if not sooner, to actually help educate as many children as possible so that we can have a great country and have people take care of us when we're old. And so we're going to really lean a lot more onto the intelligence aspects, and that's the data. What I mean is we're going to keep nerding it up with the data. I want to give you facts and information and data points that you can then leverage to go and be even more awesome and to get more people on your team. So we're going to rebrand the podcast just a little bit. Is that right, Elizabeth?
That is correct.
And you've got a new name. Now, I know you got a new name for the podcast. It makes me nervous. As communicators, that's what we do for a living. We help communicate to the best of our abilities. You're not supposed to change your name and your brand. So why are you doing it?
We want to have really strong data-driven insights that we can educate anyone and everyone about.
But why are you changing the name?
So we can be able to educate everyone with our strong data.
Okay. So once again, you can tell she's a nerd like me. So you're just trying to make it simpler
And
cleaner.
Open to everyone who wants to listen.
Yeah, I guess the word public education makes it feel like it's not for. Yeah, we want to educate people that want education. So the new podcast is Unfiltered Education.
That is correct.
Okay, so that's it. Simple. You'll still be able to find us, but what we're hoping is that you'll share it and you'll give us feedback on what you like, what you want more of. I don't want to hear that you don't want to see me in the camera. Like I can't fix that part. So let's get into this data and the excitement that we should have every August that, families are excited. They're standing out at the bus stops. They're taking pictures of their child going to their first day of school. And we want them to have these great experiences and we want them to trust us and to come to our schools. And that's what we're yearning for. But all too often I've seen too many budgets, too many schools anticipating that the enrollment's just going to drop off a cliff for the next 10 years. And they're not. That data point is pretty correct. Now, if you're a teacher or principal, you work in a school system, I want to make it real for you. Is it if you used to have 3 team members, sitting beside you doing a job and now there's one, that's because of budget losses. It's not because the schools, the school board, the families don't want more people to do the job. It's just a matter of if you lose students in any fashion, in any type of fashion, you lose funding. And there are 5 principal things, 5 campaigns that I'm thinking about. Like schools should be running 5 campaigns to ensure that their student enrollment goes up or at least way above your trend lines. Like you don't just have to accept the fact that less children are going to be in your school every year. Now, I know from a budgetary standpoint, you've got a plan to be super conservative, and that makes a lot of sense, but you can run campaigns to get more children into schools, to increase your budgets so you have more teammates, more people to do the awesome job of educating children. And that's kind of what this podcast is about. And I want to frame it at the beginning of the year that if you're not running 5 campaigns on 5 fronts, an old military term, then I want you to start to think about this as you move forward. And if you're only doing 2, try to add 1 more this year. Try to add another one next year. The more that you can run, the better. Okay, so let's picture this. In your district right now, there's going to be a classroom when you start school, and it's going to have, 26 names on the roster, like 26 students in there wanting to learn, and it's only going to have 23 in it. 23. Okay, well, not 23 because 3 are sick. 23 because 3 just never showed up. They enrolled. You think they're enrolled. They have their information in your SIS, your student information systems. Somebody printed their name like on a locker tag. I wrote locker tag. Do they still have lockers? Some schools don't even have lockers. Anyway, you have a desk for them, right? Like little Johnny's supposed to be in that seat. They don't have lockers anymore. But they haven't walked through the door. Now, most districts call those no-shows. You thought they were going to show up, but they're no-shows. And after about 8 years of us doing the work, running no-show campaigns, our number is typically 4 to 7% of the entire student body is a no-show. It's a no-show. Now, there's a reason for that, and we're going to dig into how to find the reason and what to do about it. But this number is that's 4 to 7% of your total budget too. 4 to 7% of students you're not educating. So you've got to understand these ranges we go, and this is just the first of the 5 fronts that you've got to deal with, all right? And I'll say this, with all these campaigns, speed matters. And this is tough. This is tough it's like trying to turn a battleship. You got big schools, lots of systems, lots of layers. I was in the Army. It's just hard to do things fast in certain cases just because of the nature of all the layers of laws and rules that the government has forced upon you, right? But with each one of these campaigns, speed is key because if a child is sick and they need help, you want to help them as fast as possible. If a child has transportation issues to get to school and that's why they're not showing up, the quicker you can resolve that, the better you can educate that child. But also, let's assume for a minute that one of those no-show children were recruited away from your district. And that is happening. That's happening in, well, a vast majority of states now, where the competitor type schools are actively recruiting, and that student now, you thought they were going to show up, but they got recruited away, and they're in their first week at a new school. Well, every day that they stay in that new school, they're less likely to realize that school's not a good fit and to come back to you. All right? And come back to you. And they may have gotten there and they've been like, oh no, this was not what I expected. And our data will tell you that's absolutely true. All right? We have the number one front for us right now at the beginning of school is these no-shows, because the children are recruited and they are promised the moon, they are promised the sky, they are promised free tickets to Disney World, iPads, gas cards. Like, I'm not even joking about some of these things. Like, literally in the state of Florida, some schools are kind of, we're going to take them to an annual field trip into Disney World. Like, oh, are you? On taxpayer dollars. Oh, okay. Well, it's their money now. The taxpayers gave it to them. Do they give them iPads? Yes. Do they give them gas cards? Yes. Like gas cards for transportation. Yes. All these things have been done. And then they get there and they go, wait a minute, they don't have a good STEM program. Wait a minute, this teacher's not certified. Wait a minute. And then we just want to, I want you to get out there and say, hey, it's all right. You made a mistake. You picked a school that's like, come on back, man. Come on. Let's get you back in here as soon as possible. Let's get you on the other thing. And that's 4 to 7% of your student body. That's 4 to 7% of your budget. Now, you're not going to get them all back. Some of them absolutely moved. Some of those no-shows are children that moved. Some of those children are kids that, maybe they're being raised by like me, like their dad, and they don't know when school starts and they need to be reminded. Some of them are recruited away. But you need to know. You need to know what those breakdowns are, and then work your controllables. Work the ones that you can actively work to help educate as much children as possible. Okay. So I am Brian Stevens. Elizabeth's over there going, oh, you ever say your name? Who cares? All right, let's just keep moving. All right, so 5 fronts, 5 campaigns. All right, now you're not losing students in one place. You're losing them across 5. And most districts are running an organized campaign on exactly, well, none of them. Organized. Now, I've seen some really good campaigns, and I'm gonna bring on some guests to talk about this too coming up, is they really do run a very good no-show, or they run a very good chronically absenteeism. But it's hard because the number one way to reach parents and to communicate them is to pound on them endlessly with communications, because everyone is super busy. I don't mean like literally pound. I mean, it really is hard to reach busy people, and everyone's busy. But also you got to call them on nights and weekends. Sometimes you got to go to their houses. It's just a lot of infrastructure need, but you got to work on these 5 fronts. Okay. I got to keep going. I still get worked up. I know we're supposed to be data driven now. You're still going to get me if you're listening. All right. So, and here's the thing that I don't want you and your team to do. I don't want you to write off the lowering trend lines of student enrollment just to birth rates. I want to be fair, because demographics are real. Birth rates are down. There are generally fewer school-age children in many American communities, not all, but in many, which means there's less students, so you're going to get less students because of that. Housing costs push families out, migration, people move. But I sat in a lot of rooms where birth rates did a great deal of work as an explanation, but it was an error. And they basically got to sit back and say, well, we can't do anything about birth rates, so there's nothing we can do about all the loss of children. And that's like, there's 6 fronts, but you can't do anything about the 6th front. So the 6 fronts is birth rates, but I can't do anything about that. You can't do anything about that. I mean, go to your mayor, go to your city council, and get them to make an inviting city to get more people to move there. Right? Okay, great. Go to the Chamber of Commerce. But we can't control that, so I don't want you to worry about that right now, because it's an uncontrollable. But don't use that one uncontrollable as an excuse to do nothing with the other 5 fronts. It's laziness. Or maybe that's not fair. Maybe it's not laziness. Maybe it's just like a little bit of self-defeatism. Maybe it's like people have just been getting beat down so much they can't see a better, faster way to do this. So, I should be a little kind. I'm not going to be nice, but I'll be kind. And being kind means I kind of get it. After years of just, you can't compete, you can't recruit students, you can't market to people, you can't build trust with family, just shut up, sit in the corner, and educate the students that be quiet and let all the competitors do all that stuff. And we've got to change as this new reality hits us in the face. And it's really hitting us in the face over the last 4 to 5 years. But next year going to be a big year because more and more states are going to school choice. So I want you to feel empowered that you can win because we've been doing it for 10 years. And I'm going to tell you exactly how we do it and go do it that way. All right. Front number 1, campaign 1, no-shows. No-show is not a mystery. It's really typically one of like 6 reasons that we track in our data when we're reaching out to parents that did not show up. All right. And you should track these 6. So just put them in your computer system. Transportation issues. You can help resolve that. The faster you can resolve that, the better. I think there's a 7th, and I think it's embarrassment. Just remind me, Elizabeth, to get to that. Number 2, registration wasn't completed, or there is some god-awful, silly roadblock to the enrollment process that you haven't changed your systems in 10 years. Like they didn't return their older sibling didn't return a band uniform 10 years ago, so we're not going to let him come. And they're just like, forget you. They didn't return a library book. It's like, we got to get rid of all those barriers to entry. Get them in. We can resolve those other issues after they're in and the children are getting educated. Don't put the wagon in front of the horse, so to speak. The goal is to educate as many children as possible. All those little bureaucratic rules we can deal with in their first semester. We can call them up. We can try to get it, or we can just forgive it and let it go. I mean, our goal is not getting the fees for a band uniform or the fees for a library book or something like that. The goal is to educate the children, but I've seen too many schools worry about the wrong thing. Now, I get why. Because when you're a monopoly, make people do everything necessary first just to get it off your plate. I mean, that makes a lot of sense, but you're not a bureaucracy. I mean, a monopoly anymore. So you can't do things that way. So the registration enrollment process could be a barrier. Could have a communication failure. Wrong number, wrong language, wrong channel. Some caregiver, the grandparents didn't understand when school started. And if they have little Brian Stevens they're raising, he'll lie to them that school hasn't started for a week. I mean, no, Aunt Margaret. That was the aunt I stayed with a lot sometimes when my mom was working. No, Aunt Margaret, school doesn't start this week. It starts next Monday. All right. Because why would little Brian lie to her? Because little Brian wanted to go play golf. All right. I mean, so it could be a communications error. Could be health or housing barrier. In some cases, you can't fix that, but it's good to know the student's sick, but they are going to be in 3 days. Like, that's an important thing to know. They've been recruited away. They started attendance somewhere else. Or another one that we have found when we are reaching out and talking to parents during these no-show campaigns, the family's on the fence. Like, the family is literally, the kid is not in school yet, and they're debating in their house. Do we send them to this school and take the voucher? Do we send them to this charter school? Do we send them to public school? And they're like, what's a couple days matter? Meanwhile, your competitors are reaching out to them and calling them and saying, we want you now. That's how they're doing it. It's more complex to reach out to them and connect with them and get understand how to find them, email, text messages, whatever all those vehicles are. And then I think a 7th is sometimes people get embarrassed. They missed the first day of school. They didn't have their paperwork. They're overwhelmed. They're trying to work. They don't have gas money to put in their car. And they freeze. And they think they'll get to it in the next couple days. And they're overwhelmed with life, right? I don't know if you've ever felt that way. I felt that way. And then we have a tendency to shut down instead of act. And so just accepting that parents are people, caregivers, maybe it's grandparents, and they get a little overwhelmed. And we've seen children not showing up to school. And this is the same with chronic absenteeism too, by the way. It's the same this same embarrassment model is the same thing. Transportation could be a chronic absenteeism issue. So you could take a no-show on chronic absenteeism, fairly similar campaigns. Is it maybe the young girls don't have feminine hygiene products and they're embarrassed to ask for help and they just don't go to school, and that's terrifying. Maybe it's that the children don't have clean clothes, and for chronic absenteeism especially, we've seen this. They show up for a couple of days and they get bullied a little bit and they just don't go. And I mean, like we've gotten some grants and some businesses to kick in money for like washers and dryers, like washing machines, to like be in certain rooms where the children could just go wash their clothes real quick every day, and then they'd go and cycle them out, and that increased attendance rates. And if you really remember what the ultimate goal of education is actually educating the kids. Not all the rules, not all the standardized testing, not all that stuff, but really making sure the child becomes a great adult. You're going to start to figure out ways to get them in class more. But you've got to know why they're not there. Like, that's the first data point. And if you don't know why, you're guessing. Don't guess. Find out. And it's typically these 6 categories: long-term illness, short-term illness, registration issues, transportation. They've been recruited away. You can recruit them right back, especially in the first couple of weeks, by the way. I mean, I'm smiling right now because I love to do that. I love it when a kid goes, I got to go to private school because private school's the best school. And so they go to private school. They're there a week and they're like, ooh, this is no bueno. Not for me, man. Cool. Come on back, man. I love that because I'm a competitive sort, right? And it does help them because you're getting, you're getting them back as early as possible and to educate them. Okay. So I think there are 4 checkpoints in the first 20 to 30 days. I wrote 30 days, but 30 days is an eon. It is literally such a long, people will get really entrenched in their habits in 30 days. It takes about 14 days to create a habit. So man, if you can do this in less than 14 days, you're going to be more likely to get children not in a bad pattern, right? So day 1, how many students did we expect? How many actually walked in? Write down the gap. This is your starting point. And a lot of districts know this. That's a great starting point. 5 days later, which students have still not appeared? And has an actual person spoken with the family? I'm not talking about a robocall or an AI agent, not a letter, not an email, an actual communication. Now, communication could happen via text if it's a back and forth, right? But a passive form of communication, send them a piece of mail, which people just throw away. And emails, if they're responding back and forth, I think that counts. But if an email doesn't count, like, well, we sent them an email, that's not a conversation. And if I tell somebody in our office to call somebody, I don't mean email them. And your team believes that that's like, hey, call them. They think a call is the same thing as a text or an email or a mail. No. I didn't say communicate with them. Pick up the phone, pick up the little phone and have a conversation and figure out what's going on and track it. Okay, day 10. I would sort the missing students of this no-show effort into 3 like categories: enrolled elsewhere, facing a barrier, unknown. You couldn't reach them for whatever reason. I would say the undecideds, the ones that are, I think they're facing a barrier, and their barriers, you need to convince them that you're awesome, right? Okay, so day 20, day 30, depending on how awesome you are, faster is better, who is attending consistently and who is already tracking towards chronic absenteeism. Now, if they're tracking towards chronic absenteeism, it means they showed up. That's a win for the no-show campaign. But the no-show campaign really is, let's figure out the gap. Let's figure out why they're not here. Let's see if we can correct it as soon as possible, and then we can work on it. But if they showed up, put them in the chronic absenteeism campaign if they stop showing up, because that's a little bit different model. It's a little bit different campaign front. Hopefully that makes sense. All right. Campaign number 2, front number 2. They never enrolled. You've never seen them. This is the one that almost no school district is watching aggressively. There are a few that really have been like, really surprised me. Like, we know that there are 22,000 eligible students in our community. They are not here. That's great. It's a little hard to decide that. It's never quite accurate, but a good thumb dip, a good B+ on that data point is all you really need here. And these are children who do live inside your boundaries, but they never appeared on your list. They never attended. They never withdraw. There's no transfer request. There's simply no record. And FERPA and other laws make it really hard to track, like they don't want us tracking children. That's like a really good law, by the way. So little statistics is in here. A little bit of census data is in here, which is only updated once every 10 years. So the one thing that we determined is the best indicator of this is preschool and children that are at Mother's Day Out programs. Because this is really going to hit you hardest in kindergarten. And a rising kindergarten family has no relationship with you yet, no loyalty to defend, no exit paperwork to file. They're the easiest students in America to lose, and nobody notices because you cannot lose what was never on your roster. You can't lose what you never had, right? And you never had them, and you may never get them. And there's a real fallacy out there in these never enrolleds that they're going to come anyway. Like, if I think, if I hear that one more time out of a senior leader at a school district, I'm going to freak out. I'm going to freak out. Now, we hear this a lot from mid-level staffers because it hasn't filtered down yet, this new reality yet. And it's our job to educate them. But I get it. I get why they may not know. Well, kindergartners will come anyway because they have to. No, that's an outdated philosophy. And one of the worst things you could ever say in business is, well, that's the way we've always done it. That company is a dinosaur. They will go out of business. Well, that's the way we've always done it. That is a 4-letter word in my office. That's the way who cares what you've always done? It's not the new reality. And I understand the habit that's formed in hundreds of thousands of staff members in public schools. I get it. We have to educate them that that's gone. That was yesterday, and we live in today, and we're going to be living in tomorrow shortly. So please stop people from making the completely incorrect assumption that all kindergartners are coming to you. They don't. They haven't, and they haven't for years, by the way. And it's going to be less and less and less. And here's another data point. This is what we figured out over years of doing this. Once you enroll a new student, the average attendance as of, this is a year old data. We haven't tracked it for this is the 25, 26. Wait, what are we in? We're in 20. Yeah, we're in 25, 26. I have not tracked 25, 20, 26. We're getting ready to enter 2026, 2027. I'm sorry. Okay, so this is the 2025, 2026 data. Is that a student will stay on average 3.2 years once you get them. So you get the residual effects of building trust, building a relationship for 3.2 years with them before they're going to start to think about their choice again. This is a stat. If somebody has a bad relationship, if you don't build trust, if the school falls apart, they're going to leave sooner. But if you build trust and you do all the awesome stuff that you're going to do, they're going to stay longer. But anyway, 3.2 is pretty good. And so if you get a kindergartner, you're likely to keep them for 3 years. But that also means if the competition gets that kindergartner, they're going to keep them for 3.2 years, right? And that means you're going to have a very difficult time filling kindergarten, first, second, and third grade. And then you get a transition year coming up. And then they're going to start shopping again. So I just want to get this statement out of everyone's brain. They're going to come anyway. They're not going to come anyway. There are some competitive schools that are communicating with parents in the prenatal wards, there's my speech impediment, prenatal wards at hospitals. Okay. I was flabbergasted. This started, I think it was 4 years ago was the first time we noticed it. It may have started before. It may have started 50 years ago, but the first time I noticed it was, and it was an accident. Visiting a friend, they had a baby, and there are like this. We're not talking about like some bougie, super elite preschool that you got to get on a gazillion year waiting list. These were like charter schools and like regular private schools that really had no waiting list, right? And they were saying, "Hey, get on the waiting list." They're trying to create scarcity. They're trying to make it look like they're elite. And people love that. They love that VIP treatment. They love to be enrolled in something that not everyone can be enrolled in because we think if it's special and you're on a waiting list, it's better, right? Like I don't go to restaurants where I have to wait. The food, never found the food's that much better. Why am I going to wait 45 minutes? I'll go to a food truck, but I am a weird person. Most people will wait because they think, oh, tablecloths, very fancy, how fancy. The bottles of wine are very heavy, so it must be very good. So that's how they get them. We can't do that because public schools have to take every single student. You can't have wait lists. Yes, except for some special programs, right? But in general, we educate everyone. But they are out there early and often and recruiting your kindergartners, and you never know they exist. And a person that does not understand this will say, look, we got all these kindergartners. It's down 6%, but that's because of birth rates. Oh, God bless, man. It's not true. I mean, it's partially true. It could be down a little bit because of birth rates, but if you're in an area with high competition, it's mainly because of the competition. All right. I mean, okay. So I got to move on, man. I'm giving some data points, Elizabeth. Okay. I'm giving some data points is once again, for this Never Enroll campaign, what you need to know, one kindergartner lost is years of potential enrollment, years. And then you got the sibling issue. If one child goes to school, a sibling is more likely than not to follow where that child goes. Maybe not. Some parents will split them up if they got the capacity to get them for a better school. But, you know, if child A goes, child B is going to go because it's familiar. People like familiar, right? And then families tell other families. So it's going to radiate it. I remember this, and this is true. We were young and we were dumb and young lawyers, and we thought, what do? You send your kid to private school. Look, we found the gospel of public schools. Okay, we got the kid out of there, and she just blossomed after we got out of private school. But the funny thing is, we went to one private school, and there were some issues there. They were real and they were bad, and we did not like them. And 10 families all moved at the same time to another private school. 10. Think about that. I think it was like $12,000 or $15,000 a year for this particular, no vouchers for this particular private school. I think that's what it was. Something, I don't really know, but it was somewhere in that space. That's $100,000 that walked out the door, right? Because we told other families. And then we went to another one, and there were some racial issues at that other one. There was a little bit of prejudice going on. And I'm saying, as a white man with a white daughter, it was obvious to us, right? And then 7 families all picked up and went to the local public school. 7 of us, because we all talk. And at that school, it was like $18,000 to $21,000 a year. We were doing a little bit better. We only had the one kid. But think about all that. And since then, they fired the principal and the chancellor of that school because of this stuff. Instead of doing the right thing to begin with, and we would have stayed. We said, hey, this is wrong. You ought to fix this stuff. This person's not a good egg. This person's not, I don't want to Karen it up, but we'll Karen it up for the kids. And we had to start having the children record the principal because she was doing some crazy stuff. And we showed this to the chancellor, and he was just like, what do you want me to do? I don't know, your damn job? How about you do your never mind, forget it. We'll just move. And that's what families are doing. Okay, so families do talk. And you'll never know what happened. You'll never know these families didn't pick you. And that's the scary thing out about really good, let's call them customers for a minute. Good customers, good employees, good teachers, good staff will not complain. They will just leave or just never show up. I mean, I go to a restaurant, it's not good. I just don't go back. I don't have the time to write like a terrible review and to go complain to the manager. I just leave and move on and spend my money somewhere else. I'm just too busy for all that, man. Most people just don't complain. Now, I said most. I know some people will just be rabid complainers. I don't know if they're great customers or great clients anyway. But we're just talking about the quiet majority of people that just be like, forget it. I'll just go to a different school. Forget it. I'm just not. The public school didn't even ask me to come to kindergarten. They didn't even ask me. They sent me an email, they sent me a phone call. They never explained anything to me. So I'm just not going to go. Well, we know that putting your best foot forward, communicating with the parents, letting them know they have a great choice in public school, enrolls new families. I don't know how many new families we're going to get this year, but it'll be of the districts we work with. And I think that there are, I don't know, this is a rough estimate, 40 districts we do in what we call phase 1 student recruitment. Only 40 out of 14,000, by the way. 40. Not big schools. But we're actively running to get new students enrolled. And we'll get 5,000 to 8,000 new students back to these districts that never enrolled, that were never in those schools, regardless of all the other students that were going to enroll that went and left or whatever the reason is, right? So don't assume that they're going to come. Do you know the acronym ASSUME? ASSUM. You're going to make an ass out of you and me. Assumptions are bad. Don't make assumptions that they're going to come anyway. And I'm begging you, roll this down to your whole team because a lot of them haven't been exposed to this information yet. Share this section. Elizabeth, carve this section out as something so that they can forward it to people that need to understand the new reality because we want them to be awesome, but they need to have the education to know that you can't just assume they're going to show up. Okay. Front 3, chronically absent. All right. Now, everyone's heard of this. I think most districts are really working this issue. Define chronic absenteeism means missing typically 10% or more of the year. That's 18 days out of 180. And before the pandemic, the national rate was about 15% chronically absent, like nationwide. But it peaked in 2022 at 28%. That's an average nationally. Some districts were 40. I saw one district was 51%. That's classroom of 26 people. That's 13 kids not showing up. Now it changes. The 13 changes, but that's a lot of missing days, right? This number's gotten a little bit better over the last few years, but here's my prediction for 2026, 2027. 21 to 24% will be the national average. So it's gone down from 28. That's a real weak prediction, 21 to 24. I'll go with 22% because I want to be optimistic. You want to give us your prediction there, Elizabeth?
I'm going to go with 22.
Okay. Yeah, 22. She's playing it safe. All right. So I think that it's because the improvement has stalled. It was 28. It's gone back to 22, but it's been kind of sitting in this range. And, a lot of states, 18 that I've listed, have formally adopted the goal of having their 2022 chronic absenteeism rates by this year coming up, 2027. And at this pace, almost all of them are going to miss it. And that breaks my heart, but it's hard to run these campaigns, and you cannot do things the way you used to do it. So let me tell you about a few tips that work and don't work. We talked about you have to learn what the issues are. If you have bad data points, you're correcting the wrong problem. If it's a transportation issue, you can work on transportation, changing bus routes, whatever. If it's the start times, because families now have jobs and they got to get back to work, you can adjust your start times, by the way. I mean, districts are doing it. It could be illness. Can you refer them to a clinic or something? Those are all, but you have to know what you're trying to cure. And one of the things that I'm seeing that's really hard is I've had a lot of parents say this to me. I've had parents say this in focus groups. I've had parents say this on surveys. We can't get them to go. We can't get them to go. I can't say this because it's going to be very inappropriate. Have you heard of a belt? I know you're not supposed to paddle and spank. Look, have you heard of a belt? What do you mean you can't get them to go? They're 13 years old. They will listen to us. And you can't call a truancy officer anymore. You're not going to arrest the families. You're not going to arrest the kids. And so you got to run chronic absenteeism campaigns that are really based on, this is the ones that we found the best. FOMO. Fear of missing out. The children that are there get these perks, get these prizes, get these t-shirts, Pizza Friday, whatever. The ones that are chronically, they don't. And it'll make them feel bad. Yes, it will make them feel bad. It'll hurt their little hearts. Good. Because pain inflects change. Pain causes change. No pain, no change. So you don't have to spank anybody. If my daughter was chronically absent, yeah, I never had to. She always wanted to go to school a lot. But if I had a little Brian as a kid, like me as a kid, I think he probably needs a spanking. That might have helped me. Probably wouldn't have. I don't really know. Okay. But I do know FOMO is a very effective campaign. So once you know what the issues are, you get this group of kids that they come, they don't come, they do whatever they want to do. FOMO is the way, fear of missing out on what's going on that's exciting. But then also making sure you're clearly informing the caregivers or parents that they are chronically absent. What we also have found with these chronically absenteeism campaigns I don't have that data point right now, is that, oh my gosh, I don't want to guess the numbers, but it was a majority. A majority of parents do not know what the definition of chronically absent means. They don't understand it. We have to do a better job telling them the importance of attending school every day, the importance of showing up. Every day that you lose the opportunity to learn and grow and be an awesome adult. I mean, parents will take their kids out for a week-long vacation. Now, sometimes that's the fault of the school district because they moved the spring break. They have a spring break the first week of March, and they move it. They didn't tell parents early enough to redo their spring break plans. Like, parents may buy a cruise or a trip or plane tickets or wherever during that first week of March because that's what you've always done. You change the calendar. You don't tell anybody over and over and over again. And they're like, well, I'm going to go anyway. So that's 5 days they miss right there, right? So we've got to put our calendars out early. We've got to be really consistent with those calendars. We've got to explain the importance of attending and how that helps them long term. And the data points for the caregivers is important. Letting them know that the less you show up, the less well you're going to do at life. And there's a lot of stats you can find out. There's a lot of data points, but you have to let them know, hey, your child's chronically absent. This is going to impact them in this way. We want them to come back. What can we do to help? What's the issue? Because you want to end with being hopeful, right? And then, yeah, for the kids that are just difficult to get there, you got to use FOMO. Now, we've seen these campaigns work in the last few years. And so I think that, once again, I'm going to get back to if you keep doing things the same way, you're going to get the same results. I think that's the definition of insanity to a lot of people. So if you've been running chronic absenteeism intervention campaigns and the numbers are not decreasing, change the campaign. Don't keep doing it. Fire the vendor. If it's us, fire us. I mean, the way we do it's performance-based. Okay, I know. That was called a plug. That was called a commercial. But it drives me nuts that we keep paying for people for getting weak results. And what they want to do is look at all the stuff we did. Look at all the activities. Look at all the phone calls and text messages and software programs we have. It didn't work, man. No harm, no foul. I'm not mad at you, but I'm not going to keep paying you for something that's not effective. And you've got to start running these things like a business. A lot of districts are, and somebody goes, I do run it like a business. I'm not talking to you, man. I'm talking to people that aren't, So I do want you to have an active campaign now for this other front. Okay, fourth campaign, the departures. And this is where that 27 million children that are now eligible for some sort of private school choice program jumps out at me. That's it. I mean, it's over half of the K-12 population. 5 years ago, that number was 13. So that means 5 years ago, 13 million children are eligible. Now, more than twice that are. So, I mean, do the math, right? Now, it doesn't mean that 27 million students are leaving. They're not. All right. I'm not trying to be a gotcha clickbaity dude. It's the difference between eligible and participating, and they're two very different words, all right? And so about 1.5 million students are actually enrolled in a voucher, ESA, or tax credit program right now out of the 27 million that are eligible, but that number is going to keep increasing, right? We see that in states like Texas and Florida, et cetera. But don't read that gap as a safety gap. Don't think that because there's only 1.5 million right now out of the 27, that's the same percentage that's going to stay. Because just a couple years ago, that number was only 500,000. And so it's tripled. So people are aware of it. It's in the news now. They realize, I'm going to do a restaurant analogy. I got to do a food analogy on every podcast because all I do is think about food, I guess. Is they now know that there are other restaurants that are opened up. They now have been presented with the option to show up to those restaurants because they're advertising and marketing to them. So that number is going to grow. You're going to lose more families as more restaurants open up. And, competition is good, but we just got to compete. All right. So an active recruitment campaign is, I'm not going to dig into that today because that time of year has passed, right? I'll say this. An active student recruitment campaign, the best ones start in November. Well, year round, but that's just fiscally and resource allocation not really practical. But starting between November and at the latest in March is really when you've got to run campaigns to get new students that have never shown you or students back that have left. And that's when you got to run a really good campaign and you run it all the way up until, well, really that first 2 weeks after school has started, because you just want to keep wrapping people up in case you've recruited them, but they're kind of a no-show because they didn't know where to go, they didn't know how to drop the kid off or whatever. All right, so you gotta run those campaigns. But once again, I think right now the no-show and the chronic absenteeism are where you should be. Right now, this fifth one is kind of a merger of the new ones. It's once again these families that are left that are not happy. Now, you can treat that as a no-show campaign, and maybe that's a simpler way to do it. Yeah, I think I originally had a bunch of notes written down about the people that could return. I think I covered that in the no-show. Run a no-show, but if you figure out that they've left for a competitor, don't just wring your hands and say, oh, well. Go get them back. We do it all the time. It is so fun. It is so fun for some family that thought that private school was a be-all, end-all of greatness. And it's not, is it? It's all right. Come on, look at this. Great. See, we already got your backpack ready and your locker with your name on it or whatever. All right, so you can do it. Now, let me kind of wrap this up with this. Be thinking about, now I've got 4 campaigns, 4 active campaigns. You got to start thinking about the new recruitment for next year. You got to start pricing it out. You got to start building it. Call us up. We'll build it for you. I mean, we'll build it for you. Even if you don't use this, I'll build you the campaign. I'll tell you which companies to use or not use. Do not care as long as you're winning. All right? No shows. You got to get on that now. And then you got to turn right into chronic absenteeism campaigns. And if you're running chronic absenteeism campaigns and they're not working, do something different. Do something different. All right? Hey, look, I hope this helps. I hope that in a way that I'm motivating you to compete and show how awesome you are, because when we show how awesome you are, we win. We get students back in partnership with these great districts. So let's just keep going, man. All right. And we'll put all the source notes in the file. And I appreciate you sharing it and letting people know that we're out here. That's all I want to talk about. Okay. Bye.